The air was thick with perfume, the electric buzz of celebrity chatter mixing with the distant hum of luxury engines pulling into the grand driveway. Cameras flashed like fireworks outside Diddy's Beverly Hills mansion, where a who's who of Hollywood's elite had gathered for one of the year's most anticipated parties. But amid the glittering gowns, clinking glasses, and whispered deals, one moment, caught in a grainy 30-second video, would soon eclipse the entire night. At exactly 1:43 a.m., Kim Kardashian stepped out of the mansion's side entrance, flanked by two members of her security detail. Her expression was unreadable, almost frozen, but those who watched the footage closely swore they saw something else. Tension. Her jaw clenched, her eyes darted. She avoided the cameras like they were weapons. A sleek black SUV waited by the curb, engine running. She didn't look back. Speculation erupted online within minutes. Why would Kim leave a party hosted by a close friend, one she's been known to support publicly, through thick and thin? And why through the side exit when the red carpet still swarmed with press expecting her to make a dazzling return? Before we dive deeper into this mystery, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more shocking celebrity investigations. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Eyewitnesses painted a curious picture. "She wasn't angry," said one guest who asked not to be named. "It was more like shaken, like something really personal had just gone down." Others mentioned seeing her earlier in the night, standing alone by the pool, clutching her phone tightly, seemingly lost in thought. Diddy's parties are legendary for attracting the bold and the powerful, industry moguls, music giants, influencers with reach beyond borders. But they're also known for something else: discretion. Behind every velvet rope and tinted window, secrets are traded like currency. The fact that Kim would abruptly leave such a space, one where she typically thrives, set off alarms among those who knew her well. The location added another layer to the intrigue. Beverly Hills, cloaked in its usual aura of high security and controlled chaos, had never felt so exposed. That night, it became the epicenter of gossip, with fans, reporters, and even rival celebrities trying to piece together what had gone wrong. And then there was Diddy, a man who, despite decades in the spotlight, remained maddeningly unreadable. He was seen greeting guests with his usual magnetic energy, seemingly unaware, or perhaps carefully pretending not to notice, the departure of one of his most famous friends. Was there a falling out, a private disagreement, or something deeper, something too dangerous to be made public? Those closest to Kim were tight-lipped. Her team refused to comment. No Instagram stories, no cryptic tweets. Just silence. A void that the media was all too eager to fill with theories. But perhaps the most telling detail wasn't the silence, it was her body language. In slow motion, the footage reveals a hand trembling as she reaches for the SUV's door. A glance over her shoulder, not at the press but at the mansion she had just left, and for a fraction of a second a flicker of fear, or maybe regret. Something had happened, and as we begin to untangle the layers behind that night, one thing is certain: this wasn't just another celebrity exit. It was a warning shot, a signal that beneath the gloss of fame, something far more fragile was beginning to crack. Let's take a closer look. Inside Diddy's mansion, the energy pulsed with high-octane glamour, but behind the scenes the mood had begun to shift long before Kim's dramatic exit. Those who were there, who mingled in the inner circles and lounged in the shadowed VIP sections, recalled a different story than the one seen from the red carpet. Multiple guests reported seeing Kim in quiet but intense conversations throughout the night. One in particular stood out. By the edge of the wine cellar lounge, she was seen speaking with Latasha Monroe, Diddy's longtime PR chief, and one of the few people who wield real authority behind his brand. Latasha appeared animated, gesturing with urgency while Kim listened, arms folded, her face unreadable but visibly tense. Others took note of a sudden change in the room's temperature when Rick "Flame" Garrison arrived, known across the industry for both his musical genius and his flair for scandal. Rick walked in like he owned the place. Wearing his signature leather trench and diamond shades, he didn't go unnoticed. A known disruptor, His presence raised eyebrows, and for good reason. Rumors of a recent dispute between Rick and several high-profile stars had already begun to circulate in industry circles. As the hours dragged on, small moments took on greater significance. A spilled drink. A closed-door meeting behind the velvet partition near the back patio. Nervous glances exchanged across the room. It wasn't chaos, not yet, but a slow boil, like something was waiting to erupt beneath the polished surface. Security personnel, usually discreet and barely noticeable, were suddenly more active. 2 guards reportedly shadowed Kim at one point, following her from the lounge to the outdoor garden, only to stop short when she waved them off. According to one observer, she spent several minutes alone by a fountain, typing furiously on her phone. Minutes later, she was seen re-entering the mansion, her expression colder than before. And then there was the matter of the restricted hallway near Diddy's private office. Normally off-limits to guests, that corridor was buzzing with movement. Sources say they saw Latasha disappearing behind its doors with Rick Flame Garrison not long after Kim returned inside. No one knows what was said behind closed doors, but whatever it was, it left ripples. Sensory fragments from that night painted an eerie picture. The sharp scent of burning oud incense, the echo of muffled voices behind thick walls, the distant thump of a bass line that suddenly didn't feel celebratory. Everything felt heightened, charged, watching, waiting. One attendee described the atmosphere as paranoia dressed in diamonds. Another said, "It was like everyone knew something was happening, but no one knew what exactly, or who to trust." The contradictions became glaring. On social media, pictures painted a flawless night. Laughter, dance, high fashion. But the truth whispered between bites of hors d'oeuvres and over flutes of champagne was far murkier. Something was unraveling beneath the surface, and Kim wasn't just a guest. She was somehow at the center of it. The party carried on, as it always does in these circles. But beneath the flashing lights, key players were in motion. Tensions were rising, allegiances shifting. And as more eyes turned toward the side entrance she used to vanish into the night, one question lingered with unsettling clarity. What did Kim Kardashian see or hear that made her leave so suddenly? Something had started, and it wouldn't be long before the rest of the world began to feel its tremors. As the sun rose the next morning, gossip blogs and social media were already ablaze. But by midday, the story exploded. A leaked audio clip began circulating, 38 seconds of muffled conversation, allegedly recorded inside Diddy's mansion that night. Though the voices were partially distorted, one was unmistakably Kim Kardashian's. The tone was sharp, the message clearer than anyone expected. "You promised this wouldn't resurface," the voice snapped. "We agreed, everything stays buried. No cameras, no exposure." The second voice was lower, more controlled, clearly male. "That wasn't me. Someone else brought it. You should have known this could happen." The audio sent shockwaves through the public. Was Kim referring to a secret deal? An old mistake threatening to return? Comment sections exploded with theories, while fans dissected every syllable, every pause, looking for deeper meaning. But the frenzy only grew when internet sleuths began connecting dots. Kim's early exit, her tension, the restricted hallway, and now this argument. Kim's silence was louder than ever. Her social media accounts remained dormant. Her team offered no comment. Appearances were cancelled, brand launches delayed. Even her famously curated Instagram feed paused, as though the digital world had been placed on hold. Meanwhile, tabloids reveled in the chaos. "Trouble in Beverly Hills," one headline read. Another more boldly declared, "Kim's secret deal gone wrong, what she was hiding at Diddy's bash." But beneath the noise, something more complex was happening. According to sources close to her circle, Kim was in crisis mode, not just because of the leak, but because of what it could lead to. The risk wasn't just reputational, it was personal. There were implications that went far beyond gossip columns. Those who knew her best described her mood as withdrawn, calculating. One insider claimed she had a private team of lawyers on standby by noon. Another reported she had flown in a crisis management specialist from New York. The stakes weren't just about a public image, they were about control. Kim had built an empire from visibility, but this was different. This wasn't curated. This was raw. Back at the mansion, Diddy's team went into lockdown mode. All staff were instructed not to speak to press. Non-disclosure agreements were re-signed. Guests received subtle messages reminding them of their own agreements. But in a world fueled by attention, silence only fed speculation. And what about Rick "Flame" Garrison? Strangely, he remained active on social media. A cryptic tweet posted just hours after the audio leak read, "Told you all the truth, don't stay buried forever." It was vague, but fans connected it instantly to the unfolding storm. Latasha Monroe, meanwhile, was notably absent. After years of running point on Diddy's most sensitive affairs, her sudden invisibility raised questions. She had been one of the last people seen speaking to Kim before her exit. Now she wasn't answering calls. Not even close friends knew where she was. Amid the swirling theories and online breakdowns, one truth became clear. This was no longer a rumor mill running wild. There was a real story here, one with players moving quietly behind the scenes, trying to stay ahead of something they could no longer contain. For Kim Kardashian, the game had changed, and the more she tried to retreat, the more the world demanded answers. The public wasn't going to let this go, not until they knew what had driven her out of that mansion. Not until they uncovered what secrets she had fought so hard to keep hidden. The internet didn't have to wait long to identify the second voice in the leaked audio. Within hours, audio engineers and celebrity gossip accounts working together pinpointed the voice as belonging to none other than Jace Lowell, an executive producer who once worked closely with both Diddy and Kim in early 2010s television ventures. A name mostly forgotten by the public, Jace had quietly disappeared from major headlines years ago, following a mysterious lawsuit that was never fully explained. Now he was back in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. What made this revelation more explosive wasn't just Jace's return. It was his ties to a buried scandal that had long been considered resolved. Back in 2012, whispers had circulated about a private deal involving footage from a shelved documentary project, one that allegedly exposed behind-the-scenes maneuvering between several celebrity empires. Nothing was ever proven, and the rumors faded. Until now. The mention of keeping things buried took on new meaning. And as people revisited old footage, statements, and timelines, patterns began to emerge. Jace wasn't just at the party by coincidence. His presence, combined with Rick "Flame" Garrison's, signaled intent. This wasn't a chance reunion. This was an orchestrated moment. Then came the testimony that changed everything. Latasha Monroe, silent until now, broke her silence in a private interview with a trusted media source under the condition of anonymity. Though her name wasn't officially attached to the article, those familiar with her voice and manner of speaking recognized her immediately. In the interview, she confirmed she had seen Kim crying in the bathroom hallway, holding what looked like a thick manila envelope clutched tightly against her chest. She looked devastated, the source revealed. She didn't even hear me at first. I asked if she was okay, and she just said, "It's not supposed to be like this, I should have stayed away." Then she walked out. That's when she left. The envelope. A detail that had never surfaced before. Was it the same one connected to the leaked audio? Was it related to the rumored documentary? The article didn't say, but speculation ignited instantly. Some claimed it contained old footage. Others believed it held legal documents tied to hush-money deals. No one knew for sure, but the very idea sent curiosity into overdrive. The emotional flashback to the 2012 rumors brought everything full circle. Back then, Kim had been navigating personal transformation, divorce, career reinvention, rebranding. It was a period of delicate transitions, and now, more than a decade later, the ghosts of that time had seemingly returned. Diddy, for his part, remained a phantom. No statement, no denial, no public comment. But insiders began murmuring that the night of the party wasn't meant to be a celebration at all. It was a business meeting disguised as a gathering. Select guests, carefully planned appearances, strategic conversations. The idea that Kim had stumbled or been lured into something far more dangerous than expected became harder to ignore. And if that envelope was truly part of a larger puzzle, the stakes weren't just about embarrassment or image. They were about leverage, power, protection. Kim had spent years controlling her narrative, crafting every headline, every appearance. But this time something had slipped beyond her grasp, and as the world pieced together every clue, one truth loomed larger than ever. What happened behind those closed doors was never meant to see daylight. But now, the lock had been broken. 3 days after the story broke wide open, Kim Kardashian released a carefully worded statement through her publicist. It didn't address the envelope. It didn't mention Jace Lowell or Rick Garrison. Instead, it struck a tone of vague resolution, emphasizing personal boundaries, media responsibility, and the importance of truth in the digital age. But the message many took from it was simple. She wasn't going to play defense anymore. The statement read, "There are moments in life when silence speaks volumes. I've always believed in owning my story, and I always will. Thank you to those who've shown compassion during a deeply challenging week. I'm moving forward, on my terms." With those words, Kim took back control of the narrative, and the mood shifted instantly. Influential voices, once hungry for scandal, began defending her. Fellow celebrities posted messages of solidarity. The same digital channels that had dissected her every word now framed her as a woman reclaiming power in the face of betrayal. Behind the scenes, however, the damage lingered. Latasha Monroe, the longtime loyalist in Diddy's circle, submitted her resignation quietly. No press release, no explanation. Those close to her say the weight of that night had become too much. Whether it was guilt, fear, or disillusionment, her exit sent a clear signal. The party's legacy had turned toxic. Rick "Flame" Garrison doubled down. He posted a series of cryptic Instagram stories full of half-truths and implied threats. "The empire's shaking," one read over a black screen. "Let it fall," said another, but his provocations landed flat. What once seemed like inside knowledge now came off as desperation. The public was no longer biting. Jace Lowell, the central figure in the leaked audio, vanished again. No interviews, no statements, just silence, for now at least. Meanwhile, speculation surrounding the envelope persisted. Some believed Kim had turned it over to legal authorities. Others claimed it was destroyed the night she left. A popular theory held that it contained a clause from a buried contract, one that could jeopardize multiple careers if exposed. But no confirmation came, and Kim made sure of that. In a powerful shift, she pivoted the moment into a broader media campaign. Appearing on the cover of a major fashion magazine just 2 weeks later, the headline read, "Unbreakable, reclaiming the spotlight, rewriting the rules." In the interview, she avoided direct questions about the party, but spoke candidly about resilience, control, and the danger of allowing others to shape your legacy. For the public, the mystery still lingers. But with Kim now steering the spotlight, the urgency has dulled. Curiosity remains, yes, but so does a sense of finality. Whatever happened that night, it's now part of a larger narrative, one of a woman who faced the fire and walked out holding the reins tighter than ever. There are still unanswered questions: the manila envelope, the hidden deals, the hallway whispers. But some stories aren't meant to be solved. They're meant to remind us that even at the peak of fame, power can be fragile. What will happen next? Will the truth ever be fully exposed? Or has Kim Kardashian turned the final page on a chapter too dangerous to revisit? If you want to uncover the next explosive detail in this unfolding saga, make sure to subscribe and tap the suggested video on your screen right now. The truth might not stay hidden for long.